What's up, guys and girls? Chris Flick here, Chris Flick Podcast, episode 107. Now today, earlier in the week I came across this a question that went, how often do you do something outside of your ordinary routine? So today, this whole little theme here of this podcast episode is going to be dealing towards getting out of your own little routine here. Now last week, I came across somebody at the Easton Farmers Market. It's a great outdoor market, allegedly the longest running outdoor market in America, right? It's a great thing, right? We get there, we get some baba ganoush, some falafel, a lot of kombucha, and whatever else we get into, right? And there's also parks around there, so Emmy's making friends and on the seesaw for like an hour last week when we're trying to get out of here. Anyway, we're on into a guy. I used to train him and his wife. Haven't seen him really all that much over the years, and he's like, hey man, still read your newsletter every Sunday. And I'm like, I gave him the thumbs up, and that made me feel really happy, because a few years back I decided to kind of take a little bit of a personal challenge of trying to pump out a newsletter every week. It was something out of my comfort zone and something out of the ordinary, but what that did for me, I mean, I didn't want to do it. I was self-conscious. I was worried people would unsubscribe and I would be like, what's going on? What did I write? Did I offend somebody? This, that, and the other thing, right? But eventually, doing that newsletter, you know, I just did my 200 and I think my 200th one was last week. 201 is this week. Anyway, so by doing that, it allows me to do a few things. It allows me to grow, really, right? Because it's something totally different than the norm. It allows me to read, research, to write, and then most importantly to think. Every week it forces me to think. Every week I'm like, dude, I got a little bit of a timeline. I got to get this out. I have to make some coherent thoughts. I have to make these random thoughts I have coherent, and I have to communicate that in some form, in somewhat legible way, right? And I hope over the course of 200 newsletters, I got a little bit better, right? So in the beginning, we had some discomfort. I had some self-consciousness surrounding this. I still do now. I still get a little bit annoyed when I see some unsubscriptions, but I'm like, hey, I can't please everybody, right? But in the end of the day here, I'm hoping that my writing got a little bit better, that I've been able to implement, you know, all of this stuff into a more useful routine, right? So then now I'm at this point where I'm like, you know what? I have this new habit here. That next step that I have to take, I have to reach for something a little bit further. And that is this. I want to write a book in the next 4 years. All right, why 4? Because then I'm going to be 40 years old. So by the time I'm 40, I want to have a book ready to rock and roll. All right, that's the next step. How often do you do something out of your ordinary routine? This is going to be totally out of my ordinary routine. Some guy that had average grades in high school, dropped out of college, went back and finished a little bit later, and has been working in gyms wearing athletic apparel day in and day out, is going to try to put a book together. We'll see what happens. So now moving on here, right? We talk about doing things outside of your ordinary routine. This podcast is episode 107. This is out of my ordinary routine. But I'm at this point now that I can look at a camera and talk. The next step is going to be for me start having these conversations with other people, important conversations with other people about kind of like meaning in life, athletics, parenting, stuff like that. Because I could talk to a camera all day, it's just me here, right? I got a little bit of an introverted vibe to me. But if I get some guests on here, I'm going to have to hold somewhat decent conversations, which is always tough for me because I'm not always the best listener. That's going to be the next step of the process here. 200 plus newsletters, 100 plus podcasts, and now it's time for the next step in my own personal life. And when I think about that question, how often do you do something outside of your ordinary routine? You know, the best example I could give is back in the day when I used to work at commercial gyms, and you would see people come in, and you would practically be able to see the person walk in and know exactly where they were going next. You would know what their routine was going to be, what exercises they were going to do, how many pieces of equipment they were going to put their towel down on and occupy. And they would do that stuff day in, day out, week in, week out, month, year. You get the idea, right? So one of the positives of that is that you would get really good at that routine. So if you're, say, a power lifter and you have to deadlift, bench, and squat for your competition, if you do those 3 things over and over and over again, and that's all you do, that's okay, because that's what your sport requires of you. But if your goal is progress, they still have to change the stimulus every once in a while. They have to do a few more pounds. They got to add a little bit more time, whatever it may be, right? They still have to manipulate the stimulus so it's not the same weight, same reps, day in, day out, week in, week out, okay? Now for the average person here who's just trying to get better general fitness, we have to keep in mind that we have to change something about our routine in order for us to make progress. So if you do a bench press, right, we could switch to doing a one-arm bench press. We're taking this same but different approach where it's the same movement pattern but just a small little tweak on it. If you're doing a two-legged squat, a goblet squat, a bodyweight squat, a front squat, a back squat, if you switch your stance up here and you do split squats or you start doing lunges, right, that's something totally different. Your posterior, your backside is probably going to get a little bit sore because they're not used to that movement pattern. Same but different. Bench press could go to incline press. Incline press could become military press. That type of thing. Two-legged exercises could become one-legged exercises. Same with the upper body. Maybe instead of doing stuff for sets and reps, you do stuff for time. You do 30 seconds on, 30 off, 30 on, 30 off for 30 minutes. Something like that. 30, 30, 30, right? 30 on, 30 off for 30 minutes. You can get a good sweat going. Set up a little circuit, go through it that way. In order for you to change, you have to do something outside of the normal routine. All right? We all know that, but we need to almost have a little bit of courage to step forward and do that. All right? Hopefully this episode will kind of give you that, to try something new, try something exciting. I just started swimming a couple weeks ago, and I'm not great. But eventually I'm just adding a little bit more time after time. I started with just 10 minutes of swimming. So every minute I would swim a lap, all right? I would swim down, I would wait to the next minute, then I would swim back. I'm at the point now I did 14. Next time I'm in the pool, I'm going to do 16 minutes, all right? I'm going to work up to about 30 minutes of that and just see where I'm at. Then eventually I'm going to do it down and back and then take a break. Down and back and take a break. I'm going small steps, I'm going baby steps, but I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to improve as a swimmer. That's something that I would not do in the past, but, you know, daughter's preschool is right by a YMCA. They have a pool. I've been thinking about swimming for years, literally years. So, remember, sometimes these things take time. Just because you have an idea now doesn't necessarily mean to give up on it if you don't partake in it, right? Sometimes we got to let this stuff simmer, man. We got to let it marinate a little bit for a little bit of time before we actually step forward and do it. You know, as I move on here, doing things outside of your comfort zone. As a family, our daughter had to stay home from school for a period of time due to illness, right? If she had some symptoms, she had to stay home. So we're like, we got to watch something as a family. Marisa and I used to watch The Voice back in the day, so we saw that there was an episode available, or a season available, and it ended last year at some point, or early this year, I don't know, but so we're watching The Voice, right? And this week is Challenge Week, where they try to do something. The one that we watched recently is a Challenge Week, right? Where they have to do something outside of their normal routine, normal comfort zone, right? To try to get them to reach further with their voice, explore a little bit more the ins and outs of the sound that can come out of their mouth. And while they're doing this, one of the ladies on there is talking about how she sang a song and she literally had 50 views. Now this is like one of the best voices on the show, right? She's one of the top 10 voices, top 11 voices, and she had 50 views before coming in here. And it's amazing how much, there must be tons of talent out there that a voice like that didn't get the exposure it needed, right? But anyway, it goes from 50 to 10,000. By her getting out of her comfort zone and going on a show, she reached a lot more people. She's gotten a lot more exposure, and that number is just going to continue to grow. So by taking a chance, doing something out of your normal routine, going on a show, singing songs out of your normal genre, got her those views. And those views could lead to more exposure, and more exposure can lead to greater exposure. And then that could get maybe those checks start coming in then, and she starts to get a little bit of money to come in to do what she absolutely loves doing. On the flip side of that, a lot of people quit. I guess the team that the group that wins, a girl named Tom, they were all going to go to school, right? They were all going to become doctors, and they've got an incredible sound to them. It's 3 siblings, and if they would have went to medical school, we never would have heard their voices ever, never. This great group that ends up winning the show, just because I saw in the headline they were advertised as the Voice winners, right? we never would have heard them. And isn't that crazy how much talent could be out there? How much talent is out there that we don't even know about because people were not willing to go out of their routine. Their family, they had a history of family, doctors in their family, and they were just going to follow that path. They were going to follow the routine, the normal, go to school, get a job, yada, yada, yada. But it took one person. It took their mom to say, hey, you guys sound really good. You guys should maybe start a band. Next thing you know, they're on The Voice. Next thing you know, they're on the top 10 charts with artists like Adele, and they become the winners. And now they're going to be around here. They're going to be at Music Fest this year. We might have to go see them. All right. So that's what the power of getting outside of your routine and getting out of a habit does. All right. And one thing too, we got to remember: don't quit on this stuff, man, because it's just going to take that one thing. It's going to take that one exposure. It's going to take. If you just keep trying, I think you're going to get to a good place. So many of us quit before the going gets good. And in my line of work, I've known a lot of people that started training people and then they stop because it gets freaking tough. Stay the course. Keep trying to improve. Keep trying to reach out of your normal habits and routines, and you're going to get to a place where you can make a living and be happy about it. Now, another thing about music, though, that I always find crazy is last year, or no, it's probably been about 2 years. Well, no, I guess it was before COVID-19. So this was back in October of 2019, which is kind of crazy to think about it. We saw the man, Hosier, Take Me to Church artist, right? We saw him in Bethlehem, man. Great little venue, awesome concert. And as he's singing these songs, man, the whole crowd is just chanting along with him, singing along with him. So I love watching The Voice because it gets the people, man. It gets the people going, right? So it has the power to kind of overtake like the whole crowd's mind, get them enthralled with it. People stand up and they don't even know why they're standing. People are clapping and they don't even know why they're clapping. They're swaying, they're humming, they're doing what the artist is doing, right? It's got like, music has got this powerful tool to like this brain control. It kind of can take over your brain and get you to do what the artist can get you to do what they want to do, right? So that thing always gets me going. And I think about like in the past, hundreds of years ago, you hear all these like ancient chants and stuff like that. And I think that's part of like, I think that's part of it, man. It's like a bunch of people get together and they make one sound in unison together, right? Or whatever that it is, right? And there's some sort of special benefit to that. I don't know what it is. The second part is music gives you the chills. I'm listening to some of these performances and I get goosebumps and I'm like, I don't even know why. I'm like, this song, I'm not even that into it. I won't even listen to this again. But yet I get the chills going and I don't know why. You get the goosebumps. And it's something cool and it's something special, man. I love that. I love that part of, I love that side of music where it makes you feel that kind of deep in your bones and you don't know why or how, or you don't know anything about it really, other than the fact that you feel it. And that feeling, something magical, I think, something powerful. There's not a lot of things in this world that could do that to you, you know. But you know, hearing some of the pain and the emotion in some of these songs is like, damn, woo, I love that. Anyhow, in addition, to some of the stuff that we're talking about, right? We got to get out of your normal routine. Growth needs to change the stimulus. You got to do something. You got to reach a little bit further. My last podcast, I talked about the that smile study with depression, right? The kicker was this. It's not just that exercise is magical. It's that you have to exercise a little bit beyond what you could do now. You have to reach a little bit further. You got to push. You got to get that heart rate going. Maybe you got to break a sweat, right? In order for all this stuff to work. You just got to reach a little further. Be a little bit better. Be a little bit faster, a little bit stronger, a little bit of whatever. But you just got to reach a little bit beyond what your normal grasp is, right? And I'm reminded of this Epictetus quote. How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself? We all have the ability right now to be a little bit better. But how long are you going to wait? How long are you going to wait until you take the necessary steps to become a better version of who you are in this moment? Each day we wake up and we could be better. Stop waiting. Start doing. Hope you guys like this. Peace, everybody.